Over the last few years, everyone has been wondering which crypto project or protocol will be the first to achieve true mass adoption. That is, adoption by people who aren't even that interested in crypto. Sui appears to be uniquely positioned to take this title. That's because it hasn't just been focusing on optimizing the software. It's one of the few crypto projects that's looking to optimize the hardware as well. Today, we're going to give you a quick overview of Sui, bring you up to speed about some of its most important updates, analyze Sui's price action, and tell you where this project is headed next. Stay tuned. Before we proceed, there is a disclaimer you must heed. If you're looking for financial advice, don't look at me. Education and entertainment are the only things I have to offer thee. Many of us here at the Coin Bureau also hold Sui, including me, but we will not let this affect our objectivity. Okay, with that said, Sui was founded by Evan Cheng, Sam Blackshear, Adeniyi Abiodun, Kostas Choukias, and George Denizis. All used to work at Facebook, now Meta, on its digital currency project Diem, formerly known as Libra. They founded Sui in late 2021, a few months before Diem officially shut down. Sui was built by a US software company called Miston Labs, and its ongoing development is coordinated by the Sui Foundation, a non-profit based in the Cayman Islands. Sui raised almost $400 million across various ICOs and IEOs in 2021, 2022, and 2023, with FTX being one of the largest investors. Note that Sui, or rather Miston Labs, bought back the Sui coins that were sold to FTX in April last year. The good news is that this eliminated the risk that the FTX bankruptcy estate would dump these coins on the market. The bad news is that it cost Miston Labs almost $100 million, a quarter of its runway. In any case, Sui's mainnet went live in May last year. Sui uses a delegated proof-of-stake blockchain that's capable of processing up to 297,000 transactions per second. It's important to note, though, that this figure is based on a test conducted prior to Sui's launch in April last year. It's unclear what Sui's current TPS is. For what it's worth, a recent report by CoinGecko found that Sui had been processing an average of 854 transactions per second, second only to Solana at over 1,000 TPS. The difference, of course, is that Sui has not experienced any outages or congestion issues, whereas Solana has. Regardless, speed comes with trade-offs, and in Sui's case, that's decentralization. The Sui blockchain has just 106 validators, according to SuiScan. This might have something to do with the fact that becoming a validator requires a minimum of 30 million Sui coins. That is over $30 million at the time of shooting. Nope, me neither. Thankfully, though, delegation is possible with no minimum stake. Staking rewards are currently around 3.3% per year for validators and delegators. Misbehaving validators risk having a portion of their stakes slashed, though it's not clear if this applies to delegators too. Staked Sui can also be easily liquid staked, and this is thanks to Sui's novel architecture. In contrast to other smart contract compatible layer 1s, Sui's technology is oriented around objects, not accounts. Sui also uses a newer programming language called Move, which was created by Sam. These two features make the Sui blockchain very scalable and flexible. And by the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to karate chop that like button to let us know, and subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. So, ma'am, where exactly were you on the night of the murder?
I was right here, Detective, all night long.
You got anyone who can back that up?
You mean an alibi?
Yeah, that's the one.
No, I was all on my lonesome.
And what exactly were you doing all on your lonesome, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, keep it under your hat, Detective, but I was looking through the Coin Bureau Deals page.
What's a Coin Bureau Deals page when it's at home?
It's only the place where you'll find the best discounts and promos in all of crypto.
What do you mean?
I mean, trade-in fee discounts of up to 60% and sign-up bonuses of up to $60,000 on some of the best exchanges.
Holy smokes! They got discounts on hardware wallets too, by any chance?
They sure do, Detective, like you wouldn't believe.
Well, that sure sounds kinda swell, lady, but just you give me one good reason why I should believe a single word you say.
You don't have to take my word for it, Detective. Take a look at the link down below and see for yourself.
She wasn't kidding. Those deals really were something else. Turns out that crypto ain't such a bad place after all. You just gotta know your way around. Now, in addition to staking, Sui is used to pay for fees and for governance. Notably, the fees pay for both computation and storage. The fees paid for storage can be reclaimed by destroying the data being stored, such as an NFT, for example. The storage fees also use a novel mechanism that's outside the scope of this video. We'll leave links in the description, though, if you want to learn more. Now, Sui has a maximum supply of 10 billion, which is distributed as follows. 20% to early contributors, 14% to investors, 10% to Miston Labs, 6% to the community, and 50% to the community reserve, which includes staking rewards. Note that some sources suggest slightly different allocations. Anyways, as you can see, Sui's vesting schedule is quite aggressive, with a sizable cliff that occurred earlier this month. It's worth pointing out that the Sui allocated to investors will finish vesting in the middle of 2026. It's not clear when the other vesting schedules will end, but they all go past 2030. Now, since its inception, Sui has seen considerable adoption, with almost 15 million wallets created, 900,000 daily active users, and over $700 billion locked in its DeFi protocols. The caveat, though, is that all these adoption metrics seem to have peaked and appear to be rolling over. We'll come back to that later, though. Now, it's been about a year since we last covered Sui, and it's safe to say that a lot has happened since then. Shortly after that video went live, a critical bug was discovered for all Move-based blockchains, including Sui. Fortunately, the bug was fixed. Unfortunately, it was related to the Move language. But again, we'll come back to that later. Now, the Sui FUD continued in June when the Sui Foundation allegedly sold a portion of its locked Sui staking rewards on Binance. Obviously, this was a big deal because these coins were supposed to be locked. The Sui Foundation denied the allegations, but evidence of the selling was visible on-chain. As many people pointed out, though, staking vesting allocations and selling the staking rewards seems to be standard for proof-of-stake blockchains, particularly those with lots of VC funding. You'll know this if you watched our video about Aptos versus Solana. Whatever the case, the FUD was quickly overshadowed by the FOMO when former PayPal employees launched a cross-border payments crypto project on Sui. Sui also signed a multi-year deal with Red Bull Racing. The Sui team mentioned in interviews that it will be a very involved partnership, so, well, watch out. The sentiment in July was mixed, with a crypto project called DeepBook announcing the launch of an order book DEX on Sui, and the Sui Foundation revealing that a crypto project called MoveX had been the one selling locked Sui coins back in June. This simultaneously confirmed that vesting Sui isn't truly locked. Anyhow, in August, Sui announced that Coming Chat, a decentralized social media project, had added signals encryption to its messages. This is significant as decentralized social media, aka DeSo, or SocialFi, will likely be a big narrative during this crypto bull market. Remember, Sui was formerly a Facebook project. On that note, Sui announced the launch of zkLogin in September. As the name suggests, zkLogin makes it possible to log into dApps using your Google, Twitch, or Facebook account without revealing your private key. This milestone is significant as it makes it exponentially easier to onboard users to Sui dApps. Then in October, Sui announced that it had reclaimed 117 million Sui coins from market makers and that it would use these funds to incentivize building within its ecosystem. The timing of this news was significant as the Sui Foundation was accused of manipulating Sui's supply by South Korean regulators shortly after. What's alarming is that the accusations were identical to those made by crypto sleuths a few months previously. The Sui Foundation was allegedly selling staking rewards from its locked Sui holdings. The foundation once again denied the allegations, but is reportedly under investigation by authorities. The foundation has said it's cooperating, and it is possible that it was another crypto project gone rogue. Anywho, luckily, sentiment around Sui started improving earlier this year. In January, Sui hit over 6,000 transactions per second as inscriptions came to its blockchain. If you're unfamiliar with inscriptions, ordinals, or BRC20s, then be sure to check out our video about those using the link in the description. Now, the FOMO continued with Sui partnering with Stork to create an oracle. This is where things get really interesting. If you watched our recent Solana update, you'll know that Pyth feeds data directly into Solana, but indirectly into other blockchains. This puts Solana's competitors at an unfair disadvantage. It seems that Sui is hyper-aware of this, and it looks like the purpose of their partnership with Stork is to create an oracle that's even faster than Pyth. This underscores the fact that Sui is positioning itself to be a Solana killer, as it otherwise wouldn't go out of its way to establish its own oracle infrastructure. Speaking of which, Sui also became one of the top 10 biggest blockchains by total value locked at the end of January. It's not entirely clear where all this TVL came from, but cross-chain data from bridges like Wormhole suggests that lots of money has been flowing from Ethereum to Sui. Interesting. Now, in February, Sui launched its Ambassador program. For those unfamiliar, ambassador programs often involve paying individuals, such as influencers, to promote a crypto project. For anyone wondering, the Coin Bureau is not an ambassador for Sui, nor any other project for that matter. Now, in March, Ondo Finance launched its yield-bearing stablecoin, USDY, on Sui. This foreshadows more real-world assets on Sui, which is another big crypto bull market narrative. Solend, the top lending protocol on Solana, also launched on Sui as SuiLend, highlighting Sui's competition with Solana. The bar for this competition was raised again when Miston Labs announced a new protocol called Pilotfish, which will make it possible for Sui to scale with the number of machines used. This means the more computers you add, the faster Sui becomes. For context, this is something Solana is also aiming to do. As a cherry on top, the cloud division of Chinese tech giant Tencent launched an RPC service for the Sui blockchain. For reference, RPCs are required to interact with blockchain nodes. What's fascinating is that Sui seems to have an increasingly close relationship with entities in Asia, especially those close to China. Case in point, a subsidiary of ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, partnered with Sui for GameFi and SocialFi in April. Binance's FDUSD stablecoin also launched on Sui, making it the third chain to host the Hong Kong-based stablecoin outside of Ethereum and BNB chain. More importantly, Sui announced that it would be launching a handheld gaming device in 2025. Now, the significance of this cannot be understated. Besides the fact that it's a de facto response to Solana's Saga phone, it also suggests that the battle for crypto adoption could well happen via hardware, not software. Consider that Sui published a blog post focused on decentralized physical infrastructure, aka DePIN, showcasing crypto projects that sound eerily similar to Helium, which is on Solana. Funnily enough, SuiLend, that lending protocol originally from Solana, also launched an incentive program on Sui. Ironically enough, the Sui Foundation had to come out and make a statement about the massive vesting cliff in May, something Solana once had to deal with too. The silver lining is that Sui announced that it would soon be introducing an upgrade to reduce its block time to 390 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds faster than Solana. Now, all of these updates, developments, and partnerships have had a predictable effect on Sui's price action. It basically crashed all of last year because of all the FUD, before rallying up to new highs this year because of all the FOMO. It has since cooled off as interest in altcoins seems to have dwindled. As with every crypto, Sui's past, present, and future price action fundamentally depends on two simple things: supply and demand. In case it wasn't clear enough, Sui has had some serious supply growth. Its supply has increased by more than 4x over the last year, most of it coming online earlier this month. Given that Sui's sale prices were between 3 and 10 cents, a Sui price of around $1 means that early investors are up between 30 and 10x respectively. It's likely that some of them are taking profits on their unlocked Sui, and it's possible that they're also selling the staking rewards from their locked Sui. Again, this is standard practice for most proof-of-stake cryptos, particularly those backed by large VCs. Believe it or not, but it doesn't really matter so long as the demand outweighs the supply. But again, the supply side of the equation is pretty crazy in Sui's case. Here is some quick back-of-the-hand maths. Sui's supply has increased by around 1.8 billion coins since last May. Assuming an average price of around 50 cents, which is a conservative estimate, then Sui has experienced up to $900 million of sell pressure. This is a lot of sell pressure, even when you break it up over a 12-month period. As I hinted earlier, the demand side of the equation doesn't seem to be as strong and also seems to be weakening. For starters, we have the total value locked in Sui's DeFi protocols, which seems to have peaked according to DeFi Llama. To be fair, this can be partially explained by the decline in Sui's price. What's not so easy to explain, however, is the number of active accounts. According to SuiScan, the number of active accounts is rolling over, falling by almost 50% since mid-May. What's strange is that this activity is inconsistent with Sui's TVL, which was rising fast despite minimal on-chain activity. This can be clearly seen when you look at the total number of transactions on Sui. Transactions had been almost completely flat since last August and only started spiking earlier this month. The spike was temporary and seems to resemble the spike we saw last July. It's not clear, though, what caused these spikes. What is clear is that many of these on-chain metrics suggest demand is not trending in the right direction, and this spells trouble for Sui's price. In Sui's defense, the same trends can be seen with almost every other crypto. As I mentioned a few moments ago, altcoin interest isn't very high at the moment. This means that in the short term, Sui's price is likely to continue trending lower, along with its demand-side metrics, even if the supply-side pressures ease. In the long term, however, Sui could actually have serious potential, and that's just because it meets the criteria of a crypto that retail could ape into. It has a low price tag, which gives the illusion of large gains, has a lower market cap than most large-cap cryptos, which means that it takes less money to move its price, and is accessible as it's listed on all major exchanges. Sui's only drawback is its tokenomics, but that was the case for Sol in the last cycle. To refresh your memory, Sol had an enormous vesting cliff which should have tanked its price. In the short term, it had next to no effect. In the long term, i.e. over the course of the bull market, Sol went from $5 to $250, a 50x. Why? Because Solana's narrative was that it was an Ethereum killer. This is part of why we're so bullish on Solana killers and why we think Sui, Aptos, and other Solana killers could surprise to the upside the same way that Sol did during the last cycle. This is precisely why many of us hold Sui as part of our personal crypto portfolios. If Sui performs half as well as Sol did, well, it's a 25x. And by the way, if you want to maximize your gains regardless of which way Sui goes, the Coin Bureau deals page is where you need to go. It's got trading fee discounts of up to 60% and sign-up bonuses of up to $60,000 on the best crypto exchanges. Link below. You are welcome. Now, whether Sui can pull a 25x or more fundamentally depends on its upcoming milestones. Sui published a developer roadmap to the Sui forums in January. Most milestones are technical, related to stuff like improving the Move language. One of the few that isn't, though, is a native cross-chain bridge planned for the end of the year. Realizing just how directly Sui has been competing with Solana, the launch of a native cross-chain bridge is likely a response to Solana's wormhole bridge. If this is indeed the case, then it foreshadows a possible token and/or airdrop for Sui's upcoming bridge, as well as for its aforementioned Oracle Stork. Take note. Now, aside from the milestones I've mentioned already, like the gaming console and the scalability upgrades, Sui has milestones related to gaming, finance, and commerce. These are the three pillars of Sui's strategy, but its founders have been very careful about mentioning specific milestones. This is presumably because it would risk Sui being labelled as a security by the SEC. Oddly enough, Sui is one of the few Layer 1s that hasn't been singled out for this treatment. The result is that Sui's founders have focused on broader milestones, such as making Sui as accessible as possible through the likes of zkLogin. One of the few specific milestones in Sui's strategy was revealed by Adani in a recent presentation. He specified that Sui sees GameFi as a sort of Trojan horse for the mass adoption of DeFi, which Sui believes will be best done via hardware, hence the gaming console. It's a truly thought-provoking approach. Costas also revealed dozens of milestones in a recent presentation, including offline peer-to-peer transactions, NFC technology, likely for payments, interacting with Sui via text message, and launching a decentralized OnlyFans. He even talked about tokenizing the environment, as in actual animals. You can find out why that's terrifying using the link in the description. I digress. Now, Sam also revealed some details about Sui's work on the Move programming language in an interview. He noted that Move is so new that the Sui team has had to work closely with the likes of Alibaba to facilitate Sui integrations. Recall that an exploit was discovered in Move last year. And this brings me to the challenges that Sui faces. Its first challenge is transparency. When we told our community that we would be covering Sui, everyone asked us to investigate what's been going on with Sui's tokenomics. Although Sui has published this information, it's incomplete and insufficient. That's because it seems Sui hasn't published the initial allocation of the Sui coin anywhere, only the vesting schedule. The wallets belonging to the Sui Foundation also aren't noted on any of Sui's largest explorers. It goes without saying that recent events suggest that this should be done as soon as possible. Never mind that you must scroll all the way to the bottom of Sui's website to find the vesting schedule. It's not even in the documentation. It should be noted there along with Foundation wallet addresses. Similarly, there continues to be very little information about the Sui Foundation. The Sui team once said they would give more information about the Foundation's structure and its operations. Well, we couldn't find any new information about it. This opacity has further undermined confidence in the project. This ties in to Sui's second challenge, and that's technology. As we've seen with Solana, and even Ethereum post-merge, new technologies tend to have technical issues. In Sui's case, it's not only dealing with new technologies, but also a new programming language that has already been shown to have one vulnerability. While Sui itself has not had any technical issues yet, the risk of such an issue does seem to be high, and this risk will only continue to increase as Sui continues building out its blockchain and ecosystem. If Sui experiences an outage in the short term, confidence in it, which is already somewhat low, could fall through the floor. Similarly, the high demands of the Sui blockchain appear to be doing damage to its decentralization. Last year, Sui had 2,000 full nodes. Today, it has fewer than 500. FYI, full nodes store Sui's full transaction history. The number of full nodes is likely falling because Sui's blockchain is getting too big. If this trend continues, there will only be a handful of full nodes, effectively making Sui a centralized server. Newsflash, this is why Bitcoin OGs pushed back against increasing Bitcoin's block size once upon a time. And this relates to Sui's third challenge, and that's competition. Sui faces intense competition from both Solana and Aptos, and possibly Sei. In theory, Sui has the upper hand as it seems to be technologically superior. As we've seen, however, in practice, technology isn't the only factor when it comes to winning. The controversies around Sui's tokenomics are just the tip of the iceberg. It seems that Sui is aligning itself with what's colloquially referred to as the offshore crypto industry. By contrast, Solana appears to be closely aligned with the onshore crypto industry. Now, if we're correct that Sui is aligning with offshore interests, then this means it could face hurdles onshore, i.e. in the United States. And this could be happening already. South Korea is closely aligned with the US, and Sui probably isn't the only crypto project selling locked staking rewards on Korean exchanges. I'll remind you that Sui is under investigation by authorities there. Now, with all that said, Sui's challenges pale in comparison with its potential. If you step back, it's easy to see. One of the most advanced cryptocurrencies you can find on the market today. One of the few that's focused on mass adoption, and possibly the only one that has a serious chance of getting it this cycle. From our perspective, Sui's upcoming gaming console is its secret weapon. When it launches in 2025, there's a chance it will see more sales than other pieces of crypto hardware to date. It would not be surprising at all if Sui announced other hardware devices in the interim that address its other pillars. For all its faults, Sui is literally changing the crypto game almost exactly like Solana did during the last cycle. It's raising the bar for everything, including controversies around tokenomics, apparently. Even though Sui may struggle in the short term, we believe it could well outperform its peers in the long term. Let's just hope it addresses those challenges in time. Okay, that is all for today's video. So if you found it informative, reduce that like button to mere fragments in order to let us know. If you want to stay informed about crypto projects, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell. And if you want to inform others about Sui, then be sure to share this video with them like the generous person that you are. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. So, until then, crypto friends.